Hi, I'm Rosco and welcome to EV News. And Xpeng may not be leading the sales charts, may not have lived up to expectations here in Australia, but they're certainly leading the news cycle, starting with this. Xpeng has been leading the news this week in many ways. It's been leading the news maybe for a lack of cars sales in the last couple of years. They promised so much, Xpeng Australia and New Zealand. They've formally taken over. They had a big day yesterday, big product launch day yesterday. Most of the major publications, thanks to Drive, thanks to Car Expert, all covered this week. Xpeng distributor TrueEV finally calls it quits. Sure, they're heading back at the Chinese brand, but yeah, it looks like they've finally, and I think they were plans for them to, according to some of the media, that were plans for them to actually go in, well, maybe in parallel, in tandem, and offer either Xpeng or another brand. But I think all that's fallen apart now. Fair and square now that it will just be Xpeng corporate that's going to be leading the way. They've thrown in the towel. I think the court case is still pending. We haven't had a lot of information about that, whether they're still pursuing that. Some rumours that we've seen suggest that it's in October this year, that they're still going to be having their day in court in relation to that agreement falling apart. Certainly the main news this week was out of Xpeng. In Melbourne, in the last couple of days, 5 cars in 6 months is what Xpeng now are promising. So it is going to be magnificent to see them finally get their heels and get their straps and get racing. And because there's a bit of catch up to do, new dealerships, new workshops, new service. It certainly is going to be a bit of a change from what they had. We are acknowledging that, and this through this article at Car Expert, we're acknowledging that, yeah, there was a lot of contention and quite a few unhappy customers, and we hear you. The news from Car Expert, they might have an inside, and some of the news that we've seen is that BYD corporate are honouring some of the $5,000 cashbacks which people had claimed, right? So for those people that bought an Xpeng under TrueEV, it looks like there might be some compensation or some recourse in relation to those cashbacks. So a lot of coverage on a lot of other YouTube channels coming out was these 5 cars in 6 months. Again, the G6, the new G6, we've all heard about the X9 as well. And there was a press release that came out that we received about the X9. Very competitive pricing, 90 grand for the rear wheel drive model, including on-road costs. So phenomenal looking car by the looks of things. And you might have seen this one floated around already. That's coming very shortly as part of their major plans. Details confirmed. That'll be on their website as well. So that gives them 2 models. They're also looking at the L03, which has been featured pretty heavily on the media more recently as well. Confirmation that that's coming. Then a G9L, then an L05. 5 models coming in the next 6 months. So they're going gangbusters. And one of the messages out of their presentation yesterday was that we'll get models straight after China gets them. So they're trying to hit some of the serious issues straight on the head. Customer service, ensuring that we get the latest model here. No doubt that they've got a lot of work to do, but they're trying hard to ensure that our model range reflects China's straight away so that we don't get left behind. Exciting times for Xpeng as they finally get their act together. Sadly, it doesn't look like it. One of the ones I liked the most, that P7, was featured in that lineup. Love to see this P7. That disappointingly it did not seem to appear in their lineup. Love to see that. But yeah, you'll see a lot of news coverage. Other guys covering that. We also noted I think this Cars Guide had a scoop on the L03, and there's been quite a few shots of that as they've driven that in China, but that one's here in Australia. And then the another Xpeng hatchback. So there was a couple of models there that they did not release data on. So there was a bit of scoop action here from Cars Guide that we picked up. That's all we've seen so far. And they weren't revealed at the show the other night. So you'll see a bit more of this. Plenty of guys. Tom's got some great coverage of that. Shout out. I borrowed some of his footage to intro that, but no doubt he'll cover that later tonight as well. And this is the back of the Xpeng G9L. And I don't have details on the sizing or what they look like, but definitely a lot of Xpeng action in the future. Finally, they're getting their act together, and that is great to see. But that was not all because there was another brand that hit the market not so long ago, the Lepus, and that was another cherry brand, again, along with JQ and the Amoda, which I've heard some comments about. So plenty of action on the new car front. This one came out a couple of weeks ago, the Lepus. Really nice looking car, but another brand from Cherry. No details on exact size, but this was another update on our news wire that gave us more information about this one being tuned specifically for Australian roads, which again clearly is a real big deal. They're trying to make sure that these cars are Australian road ready in terms of suspension and tested here so that people know that they are going to get something. So look, another brand, another Cherry brand, big deal. There's plenty coming. Look, hidden in the news, but again, you had to dig right down into the right into the fine print on this one, was the Range Rover GT. And you would have, again, do we need another Range Rover? Looks a bit like a Valorish, but this is in camo. This is not a paint job. It's in camo. Amazing thing about this is that they really hid that right into in the fine print of a press release, which was really about the launch of this new car, about their commitment to Range Rover customer, and about the type of cars they're building, and another prototype. But you had to get right into the fine print that the Range Rover GT will be a first all-electric Range Rover. So amazingly, they buried that. Their first news about being a Range Rover producing an EV, yes, as well as an ICE and a hybrid model, but one might have thought and hoped that Range Rover, the owner of Tata's their owner, the owner of Jaguar as well, one might have hoped that they would have been shouting to the ceiling about their first EV, but no, it's hidden in the fine print. But interesting looking car. It's had a bit of commentary on the interior, a little bit too Chinese. Some people have called it a little bit too simplistic, gone too far. Of course, it's going to be made in China. But look, can't wait to see more from Range Rover. But sometimes maybe again too little, too late. Maybe not for Range Rover customers. So plenty happening there, no doubt. We'll see more of that, and that's been breaking EV news. There's no doubt. There's plenty of it. There's always plenty of EV news. We'll be there, Mrs. Amazing and I. It's the 18th to the 20th of September. It's only 7 weeks away now. They're getting primed up for it now. Elliot's going to be there. Sarah's going to be there. Everyone's going to be there. Dan's going to be there. Tom's going to be leading it. I think there's a few more YouTubers going to be there as well presenting. We'll be there for sure covering it. Can't wait. And if you want some tickets, there's a link down below. We've got a 20% discount. Amazing EV. If you use that coupon, you can get a ticket. It won't be far away. Go to a short ad break with some of the cars that we've got. Amazing EV.